All right, welcome back. Math's easy, step by step. In this part 67 video, we're continuing to answer the example problem from part 66. So I'm showing you here again those fraction values as decimals, right? So 3/5 as a decimal, 0.60, divided by 8/3 as a decimal, which is 2.66, and we rounded that 6 up to a 7. Now there's a rule. Before we start dividing it all, we want to take care of this decimal, right? We're going to move this decimal however many times it takes to get just beyond the ones place. So you see here 7 is in the ones, our desired ones place, right? So we want this decimal to end up to the right of the 7. However many times I move this decimal on the outside, I must also move the decimal equal on the inside. Let's take a look at that particular rule. So I have this rule written out for you here. The number of moves on the outside of the divisor bar, right? The number of times we move that decimal outside of the divisor bar is going to be equal to the same number of moves of the decimal inside the divisor bar. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so how many times do I have to move this decimal to the right? 1, 2, 3 times to the right to get that all the way over to the right side. So if I move the term outside the divisor bar 3 times, I have to move the decimal inside the divisor bar 3 times to the right. And as you can see here, I have to place a 0 as a placeholder. Right? I'm an instructor, so I'm going to go dot, dot, dot. It's an invisible 0. Later, I'm going to write that 0 in, and then have a decimal to the right of that 0. To the right of the decimal, we're going to put as many zeros as you have to in order to answer this question. So again, I move the decimal outside the divisor bar 3 times. That means I have to move the decimal inside the divisor bar 3 times as well before I can start to divide. So here below you can see 600 decimal point. Raise that decimal point right above that divisor bar. Make as many zeros as you have to the right in order to complete the problem. Divided by 2,667. Hey, let's go ahead and let's work on doing some guess and checks to see how many 2,667 will go into 600 or 6,000. Let's check it out. All right, so in setting up this problem, you can see now a little bit more clearly 600, but there's the decimal, raise it right above the decimal bar, and as many zeros as you need to answer this problem. So 2,667 times what will give me 6? 0. 2,667 times what will give me 60? 0. 2,667 times what number gives me 600? 0. 2,667 times what number will give me 6,000, right? I'm adding another 0, and I'm just going to consider the 6 with 3 zeros, which is 6,000, right? I know there's a decimal here. Don't worry. Don't let it fool you. Just pretend that that was 6 with 3 zeros, 6,000. That is my target, 6,000. What number times 2,667 will get me closest to 6,000 without going over? Let me show you. We're going to try a little guess and check. If you've never seen this before, I'm going to take a few moments to show you what this guess and check is all about. All right, so in the guess and check mode, I'm going to take 2,667 and I'm going to start multiplying it times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times whatever until I can find a product. Remember, product's the answer to a multiplication problem that gets me closest to 6,000. That's our target. 6,000 is our target. So I'll multiply times 2. 2 times 7 is 14. I put the 4, I carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. I'll carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. I'll carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So when you multiply times 2, you get a product of 5,334. Let's try 3, right? So 7 times 3 is 21. I'll put the 1. I'll carry the 2. 6 times 3 is 18. 19, 20. I'll put the 0. I'll carry the 2. 3 times 6 is 18. 19, 20. After you add the 2, I'll put the 0. I'll carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 2 more is 8. So when I multiply times 3, I get a product of 8,001. And so you can see how this works times 4 times 5, right? And so, again, this is called guess and check, right? You just guess and check to find which value gets us closest to 6,000 without going over. And so if you see here, out of all these products, 5,334 gets me closest to 6,000 without going over. So what am I going to put right above this 0, above that divisor bar? You tell me, what am I going to do? All right, you said put a 2 right above that 0 at the end of 6,000, right? Because 2 times 2,667 is 5,334. I have a problem here. I cannot take away 4 from 0. I cannot take away 3 from 0. I cannot take away 3 from 0. I can take away 5 from 6, but then what am I going to do with the rest of these? What would you do? I'll show you what I'm going to do. What would you do? All right, so what you need to do is you got to borrow from the 6, right? I'm going to borrow 1 whole from the 6, and 6 minus 1 leaves me 5. Where does that 1 go? Well, that 1 that you can see right here turns that 0 into a 10. But since I got to loan 1 to these others, I have to borrow from the 10, which turns it into a 9. That makes this 0 a 10, but I got to borrow from this 10 to give over here to this 0. So 10 minus 1 is 9. There's the 1 I just borrowed with that 0, which makes this a 10. So to finish your subtraction, what's 10 minus 4? What's 9 minus 3? 9 minus 3. 5 minus 5. What will you get? All right, so as you can see here, 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. 5 minus 5 is 0. Bring down that next digit, which just happens to be a 0, and you have 6,660. What number times 2,667 gets me closest to our target number, 6,660, without going over? Well, times 3 is 8,000, so times 2 is 5,334. So I'm going to, again, put what right above that 0? That's right. You're going to put that 2 right above the divisor bar above the 0. Now I'm going to subtract 5,334 from our target, 6,660. I cannot take away 4 from 0. What do I do? You said borrow from the 6, which turns into a 5, so you can create a 10 out of that 0. You're absolutely correct. Now let's subtract 4 from 10, 3 from 5, 3 from 6, 5 from 6. What do you get? All right, so you end up with 1,326. But when you bring this next 0 down in order to create your new target number, it turns into 13,260. Let's go ahead and take a look at our guess and check. Do we have a value that will get us closest to 13,260 without going over? All right, so you can see here, when we multiply 2,667 times 5, we get 13,335. Which is larger than 13,260. So we cannot use 5. But 2,667 times 4 gets us 10,668. Is that larger than 13,260? No. So 4 will work. All right, so as you can see, and if you can't see, you got to watch in full screen mode or else it'll cut off some of the paper. I placed a 4 here, right above the 0. So 0.224 is my decimal equivalency. All right, so you could subtract this value, get a new number, add another 0, and keep going on and on and on. But I'm going to stop. 0.224 is my answer. So 3/5 divided by 8/3 is equal to 0.60 divided by 2.667, which is equal to 0.224. Final answer. Math's easy. Take step by step. Thank you for joining me. If I've helped you, please help me to help others. Thank you for your time.